So today I'm going to show you how to swap a HP G8 Chromebook. This is an 11-inch model. I'm going to show you how to swap the motherboard from another model that's had other issues with this one, and I'll explain why I'm doing it and how it works. I work as a school technician, and we've got somewhere in the region of about 1,200 Chromebooks, about 1,000 kids. So it means that sometimes we get Chromebooks in that need repaired, but then maybe might be unrepairable. So we keep a lot of them, especially because every couple of years we get a different model, and that means we have parts, little bits and pieces, which I'll show you when I open up this Chromebook, that actually you can salvage off older models, and then you can put on Chromebooks that either you make a mistake with, or if a pupil's broken it from wear and tear and things like that, you can repair them. So we've got probably 4 or 5 Chromebooks of this model with one issue that's unrepairable, that we've kept the model, and they sit in my room in parts, and when a problem like this comes along, it means we can fix it. So basically, I got one of these Chromebooks in, and I just got a piece of paper, and all it said was that the trackpad needed replaced. So normally that's a really simple fix. I just go on to either get a brand new one. If it was a really new model, which in our school this isn't the newest model, I would use a new trackpad. But since it's not the newest model, then I don't have any trackpads in stock that are new. So then I look at my pile of 4 or 5 older used Chromebooks of this exact model, and I see that I've got a keyboard or a trackpad or both, and what I do is I swap them. So I swap the trackpad, which means I've still got another keyboard that I can use down the line, and I go to put it on. And then what I actually did was, when I was taking the keyboard off this one, I don't know if you can see it, but I broke off the little catch that's on the motherboard. So it should be one of these kind of style catches that has the clear white little tab on it. And what I did was, when I flicked it up, then I went to put it back in the second time, and it wasn't caught on the sides. I've tried putting in other ones. I took one off a really broken one and tried to fix it. It's not working. So what I've decided to do was, I've decided to take a motherboard, the exact same model, off another one that's not being deprovisioned. So when everything looks at it over our system, it will still see it as a Chromebook that we own, but it's just from a different model. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap the motherboard, put it into this one, and then that means when I can chuck this motherboard away, and then we're left with a fully working one that's got a trackpad and keyboard at work, but also a motherboard that's got I'll show you actually on this one, it's got the little white flicker that means you can put the cable into it. Okay. It seems a really daunting task with one of these Chromebooks, because it comes to you with the keyboard on, with the screws in the back. You have to take it off, and then you look at it and you think all this stuff's plugged in. But actually, the way these are designed, it's really modular, and it makes it actually very easy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this, and I'm going to show you a couple of other little things. If you've watched any of my other videos, normally what you'd have to do is you have to take the screws off the back. I think there's 8 of them, or 6 or 8 screws, depending on different models. And what I would normally do is I would set them out on the side, but I've had this Chromebook apart for maybe a week or two in bits, and I've got to the point now where I'm going to do this repair. So actually the screws have already been done, and they're in a little tub waiting for me to put it all back together. So what I would do is I'll put the keyboard and the motherboard out the way, just to the side at the moment, so I've got some clear surface. And all I would do is I would go around the Chromebook, because there's no keyboard and mouse connection, which would always be the first 2 things. I then take the power off. Some of you, if you're a bit more professional than me, might use an anti-static wristband or something like that, but as long as you unplug the power on these, then they're fine. Then this is the speaker cable. Just got to take the film off of it, and then you take the speaker out. There we go, the speaker's out. Now what I would do is I would go around and disconnect all the connections, and I would do the screws last, It just means that it's not moving around before you disconnect things, which can be a bit annoying and stops you being able to do it. This one's actually, the sticker cover is stuck down a lot better than most. If you get good at it, you just take it off. This way. Right. And then all you do is you flick the outside up and the outside up again. And that lets you take off the connections. All this is doing is connecting up the different ports on the side, so the USB-C and the USB go through these. Some of the older models that we've had, they just had a straight motherboard like it's got on this side, but with the newer model, to fit everything in, they seem to do it this way, which is, it works no problem. Then you take the screw out of the Wi-Fi card, and then a small metal protector for the Wi-Fi card, and then what I would do is I would leave the Wi-Fi card plugged in, but I would just slide it out. Some people might leave that in until they take the screws out, but and then there's just a tiny little, I think that, yeah, that's fine. And then you'll see on this model, I'll show you in a second, right, this is probably the most complicated bit. This is just the display connection. I don't know if you've seen this in other videos, but sometimes these become loose, and actually if you've got display issues, all you need to do is reconnect these. What I've found is, instead of playing around with the actual connection, the best thing to do is just pull at the cable. If you pull at the lower bit, sometimes if you open it up, you'll be able to see when you lift this bit up and you try and pull it, sometimes it separates and it's quite delicate. So, and then the only other two you need to undo now, so we'll need to go down the screws, is for the USB-C connection that's in the corner, there's two little screws of its own that connect it. So I'll just do what I normally do, put the Wi-Fi to the top corner there, motherboard in the middle, it goes down here, setting out the screws the same way, bottom left hand corner, it's down there, top left, there, and then middle screw, which should be the last one, sits in the middle of the pile there. Now, the last thing with these Chromebooks is you've disconnected both the bits, disconnect the Wi-Fi card and the black cable at the top. There's actually, when you lift it up, there's a black cable underneath, and I think it's the power. I might be wrong, but I think it's the power. And it's the power, and it just clips in underneath. So when we're putting it back in, we'll need to look at where it comes, and then the motherboard actually just shuggles out and should come out in one piece. There we go. The metal stays on, so it's easy to keep together, and it's the exact same as the other one that we were going to swap. So I'll put this off to the side, and I'll take my other motherboard. Now, motherboard goes physical connections to the right, and then wired connections to the left, just as we did. Now, this is the point where I would, if you're a technician or doing similar to what I'm doing on the scale I'm doing, this is the point where you realise that actually every single thing that you've disconnected on this Chromebook is something that you could salvage. So we've shown you can reuse, or we're about to show you can reuse your motherboard, but for example, if you had a very broken Chromebook, you can salvage cables, you can salvage a Wi-Fi card, the DC port on these through USB-C, there's a cable, you can take that. A lot of these fail on some of them, so you might want to take it. You can take the whole board that's got all this connection on one side, you can keep these. You can salvage obviously the protection and the battery. You can take the speakers out. You could you can take your keyboard and you can actually keep a whole keyboard, or you can take the trackpad off and have them as two pieces. And then the screen's the same. You can have we salvage all the screens off all our Chromebooks. We salvage now, a lot of the models have a separate plastic part. Some have a plastic bar, and then the case as well. So you get to the point you might have anywhere from 15 to 20 bits. And then on top of that, you've got screws. So you end up having trays and trays worth of stuff, but it then means when a Chromebook comes in, you've got a whole list of stuff. So it might take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to strip some of these, or you can keep them all and then have 2 hours of stripping them, but it means you end up with lots of parts. It means you don't have to spend money, which means potentially if you've got a budget to do something, you've got more money to buy IT equipment or new Chromebooks than it is to repair. Because when you have 1,200 Chromebooks-ish, like we have, or our like local authority has 1,400 to 14,000 to 15,000 Chromebooks, if the high schools especially can cut down on repair costs, then it means we get more and more equipment, and then we're more likely to get nicer equipment as well, because head teachers aren't having to spend that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to slide this back in. Actually, I've just noticed something that we need to do with this one that we didn't have to do with the other one because I've taken it apart. So this just slides in and it clips in like that. Make sure all the cables are out of the way. When I was taking this other motherboard off, I must have taken the silver protect off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the silver protect off of this one and just put it on here. I'll just put it on for now and then I'll screw it in place in a minute. But there we go. Right, so what I need to do is just the DC cable. I need to work out where it is and I just need to plug it in. That should be it. I think so. Check that's in properly. Nope, wasn't in properly. Do you know what I might do? I might do the opposite way around than I thought I was going to do it and just plug it in first. If you do a lot of them, then you can do it in a different routine. But I haven't done a lot of these recently, so keep that out of the way. Keep that as well. And then just need to slide this into it's not lining up. There we go. Make sure the Wi-Fi card and the blue cables are out. There we go, and then put this clip on. I think it's a bit bent. Okay. And then what I would do is now that I've done this, that was a bit faffy because I've not done it a lot, is now what I do is I just put the screws back in. So the screws are in place. Take the power cable out before I screw it down. Just put that one down. Put that one down. Put that top corner. Now these are the two that are left, so that means they're from this top corner, which might be if they go in easy. If not, I'll just use the screwdriver. There's one. Okay, so that's all the screws in. I've got, I'll do the Wi-Fi card just now, because that means it's done. This one needs to come out and goes on top. So I'll do that next. Put this, put it in. There's the Wi-Fi card. Just make sure they're out of the way. That then goes on here. It's just a protection. And then drops that in. There we go. And then
because the plastic bit's out of the way, it's a bit easier to do all these. Need a different screwdriver. Just one with a flat end to push this in. This actually might end up being the fun one. That was more hassle than I thought. There we go, that's down and that's done. Then these two serial cables just go in. There's one. Clip goes down. Just make sure the line's straight when it goes in. And then that one goes in and that one goes like that. Just making sure actually that top one's done right. I'm sure it is. Yep. It's done like that. That's it flat. That's that one done flat. Power's not in yet. We'll do that last actually. Display cable. This is the fun one. It's not quite in. There we go. That's the problem that happens with some of them coming loose as well. So this one side goes in, the other side just sits out and it looks like it's straight, but it's not. This is the speakers, just going in the bottom right hand corner. Come on, go in. There we go. And then last but not least, is the power. So it's the power in and done. And then you take your keyboard that was your replacement. You just lift up the plastic cover. There you go. Remember, the line's got to be straight so that you know that it's on properly. And then this is the whole reason that I did this repair, was that I broke this white bit off on the other one. Just lift it up, slide the and drop it down. Then the line disappears, which is good. And you just flip it over. What I would do is I would test it before you put it all back together. Is it going to go? Let's see. Oh, the battery's been unplugged. So if the battery's been unplugged, you need to plug the power in before it will switch on. Oh, there we go. Some of the models we've got, they won't switch on. So see, it's come up. Welcome to Chromebook. So this is one that's been flattened, and that's us working again. Hopefully trackpad's working, as you can see. So we're moving around and we're on our winner. The network's not coming up, but the Wi-Fi's on. So there we go, fully connected. And all I need to do is put the screws in the back and I'm sorted. As you can see, there's a lot of bits on these that you can basically reuse and recycle almost, and it means you don't have to pay a company for new parts all the time. Obviously sometimes you do, but it really does help if you store your parts and you keep them in a kind of like a modular system. We've got a set of trays that we have every model. We have 4 or 5 trays for each model, and it really does work. Okay, hope that helped. Any questions?
Oh. Built-in screen reader for Chrome OS. If so, press the space bar.
Any questions, then ask me in the comments. Okay, hope that was helpful. Thanks, bye.